The movie Goodbye Christopher Robin tells the true story behind how the beloved cartoon character Winnie the Pooh was created and reveals who Christopher Robin really was. It begins in 1941, during World War II, when a writer named Alan Alexander Milne, A.A. Milne, receives an emotional letter that takes him back to 1916. After serving in the war, Milne returns to his wife Daphne. They have a son, Christopher Robin, nicknamed Billy Moon, but Daphne is disappointed because she wanted a daughter. She tells Alan that she can't love him anymore because when he grows up, he will also go to war, and I will also have to wait for him, the way I waited for you, that too, without any hope. And now, I don't have the strength to bear all this. After this, they keep a nanny for Christopher, whose name is Olive. And Olive loves Christopher very much. Slowly time passes, and Christopher becomes 3 years old. But in these 3 years, only Olive takes care of him because his parents are very busy in their parties and work. They can't pay attention to Christopher. And Alan keeps writing plays. But now he is fed up with his work, and he wants to go to an isolated place where he can write something new and good. That's why he goes to a countryside place with his whole family, which is completely a jungle. And now Alan's whole family has shifted there. But even after shifting there, Alan doesn't write much. Now, when his whole family shifts here, Daphne gives some toys to her son, Christopher Robin, which has a teddy bear, a piglet, a tiger, and a donkey. Christopher Robin is very happy to get all these toys. Christopher asks his mum, "What is the name of this teddy bear?" His mum says its name is Edward. And now he starts playing with his toys. Now one day, Christopher's dad goes to Alan's jungle, and Christopher starts following him. And when his dad sees him, his dad says, "You should go home." Christopher says, "Should I go back?" His dad says, "No, come with me." And they both start walking ahead. Now Christopher asks his dad, "Can you give me a name for my donkey?" His dad says, "Its name is Eeyore." And Christopher is very happy to hear this name. Now, when they are moving ahead, Alan hears the sound of bees and he gets scared. Actually, he remembers World War I. When he was in the war, and even today, he can't forget those memories. Christopher says, "These are just bees. They have come to find their honey." And after hearing this, his dad gets relaxed. And they both come back home. After coming back home, Alan's wife says, "You have come here to write. And you haven't started writing yet." After the war, the whole country is in shock. People's lives have become colourless. And if you write a book against the war, you will fill their colourless lives. Daphne says, "I am going to London, because you are a writer who doesn't write. And if you don't write, it will be difficult for you to bear." Alan says, "When will you come back?" She says, "When you start writing." Now, when she is going to London, Daphne says, "Me and Christopher will come with you, so that we can show Christopher the zoo." And Christopher, Daphne, and Christopher's mum. All of them go to the zoo in London. They all see a big bear in the zoo. Christopher asks, "What is his name?" Daphne says, "His name is Winnie, because he is from Winnipeg." After visiting the zoo, Daphne and Christopher come back home. But her mum, Daphne, stays there in London, and the next day, Daphne has to take a 3-day leave to go to see her mum, because her mum is very sick, and her cook is already on leave. That is why only Christopher Robin and his dad Alan are left at home. The next morning when Alan is writing, Christopher comes to him. Christopher says, "I know you are writing a book against the war. This is a good idea. If you write something for me, I will definitely read it." Alan says, "Will you go out with me?" Christopher says, "Okay," and they both go out. And when they are out, Christopher tells him, "When we went to the zoo, I saw a bear there. His name was Winnie, because he was from Winnipeg. The soldiers killed his mum, and he came to the zoo." After this, Alan tells his son, "There are bees here. If there are bees here, there must be bears here." Christopher says, "There are no bears here." Then his father shows him a bear on the tree, which is Christopher's teddy bear, whose name is Edward, and the toy that his mum gave him. Actually, his dad is playing with him. Christopher says, "From today, I will call him Vinny," and he names him Vinny, and his dad starts playing with Christopher. Like this, when they have dinner, there is a lot of food, and his dad puts all his toys there, and Christopher enjoys doing all this because his father is playing with him for the first time, spending time with him. And in this game, he makes a lot of stories with his son. He names the tiger. The bear's name is Vinny, and the one who has a donkey, His name is Eeyore, and the piglet's name is Piglet. And like this, he has a lot of stories. And Alan calls his friend from the city who makes a lot of sketches of Christopher and his toys so that he can use it in his story. And along with this, he writes a poem, and he sends that poem to his wife. The name of this poem is Vespers, and it is related to Winnie the Pooh. And after a few days, his wife comes back home. And she tells him that I've published your poem, and people liked it a lot. And now Alan starts working even harder on Winnie the Pooh's book. And when his first book is published, he becomes famous overnight. Alan was already a big writer, but after this book, all his previous work is hidden because people like this book so much that he becomes a big celebrity overnight. People now want to know about his book and his stories, and when people know that Christopher Robin is a real boy, then people's curiosity increases even more. And now people want to meet Christopher Robin and want to know about him. After a few days, Christopher Robin's nanny comes back home, and Christopher Robin is very happy. Actually, his mum died, so it took him a lot of time. His nanny tells him that the poem you wrote about Christopher Robin, I saw it at my friend's house. And I am very happy that people liked this poem so much. Actually, the poem that Alan wrote was about Christopher Robin's prayers, which everyone was liking. Now that Christopher Robin has become so famous, his whole lifestyle has changed. He gets a lot of letters every day. He goes to parties. People want to take pictures with him. But Christopher Robin doesn't like all this because he only wanted to play in the jungle with his father. But now all his games have stopped. Because Alan, who is his father, is so busy with his work that he can't give Christopher Robin time. Where he used to play bad ball and make stories together, now he can't give his son Christopher Robin time. He is always busy in parties or in his writing work. And because of this, Christopher Robin gets very sad. Christopher Robin's nanny doesn't want Christopher Robin's life to go the way it is going because she knows that he only wants his father's support. She has nothing to do with parties and interviews. But her parents don't understand this. And now Billy only has his nanny's love. But after a few days, Nanny falls in love with a man whose name is Alfred. And when Billy finds out, he is very sad because he doesn't want to share his nanny with anyone, although Nanny loves her more than her son. But Christopher Robin thinks that if he marries Alfred, she will leave him. And he tells his parents that she is getting married because he thinks that if she gets married, she will leave him forever. And when his parents get to know about this, Christopher Robin's mum taunts Nanny. She says that now we understand why our son was so sad. Nanny tells Alan that you are not doing what is good for Christopher. You are using him to sell your books. Make him feel that you care for him. Christopher's mum says that I gave birth to him. Nanny says that forgive me. But even animals give birth. She tells Alan that a father should support his son, and Nanny leaves. Christopher is very sad, although it is not easy for Nanny to leave him because she loves him. But now she is helpless. And after Nanny leaves, Alan realizes that he was wrong. Actually, this is Christopher Robin's age to play games, not to give interviews. And one day he tells his son that from now on, I will not write anything. About Christopher Robin, about Winnie the Pooh, about Tigger. Not even a word. Christopher Robin says, will Winnie the Pooh be ours again? Alan says no, but I promise you that I will not write anything about Christopher Robin. You will not have to take photographs. You will not have to go for tea. You can do whatever you want. Christopher Robin is very happy, and now his dad admits him in a boarding school. But the kids there scold Christopher Robin because of Winnie the Pooh. Winnie the Pooh gets very upset because of this. He grows up, and now World War II has started, and he wants to join the army, but he fails in medical. Because of this, he gets very disappointed. Actually, he wants to join the army. He wants to do something for his country. And he tells his dad that I know you can get me in medical because you are in every citizen's heart. And all this is possible because of me. And even if Alan doesn't want, he gets him in the army. And before going to war, Christopher tells his dad that the bear ruined my life. Wherever I go, people know. When I was a kid, we used to play in the jungle. And then you wrote a book, and everything was over. You changed completely. Alan says, this is not true. As soon as I realized I stopped writing, those were the best days of my life. Christopher says, you sold them. Alan says, you told me to write a book. Christopher says, I didn't tell you. I told you for me. And after this, Christopher goes to war. The story comes back to the present. And Alan opens the letter that he just got. It says, "Your daughter is missing." Possibly killed. After hearing this, he breaks down. His wife also cries a lot. And then he goes to Alan's nanny. When Nanny finds out, she also cries a lot, because she still loves Christopher. She considers him her son. And one night, when Alan is sitting outside his house, he sees someone coming from the front. And when he looks carefully, his son, Christopher Robin, is coming from there. He is alive and shakes hands with him. Alan asks his son, "Are you really Billy Moon?" Because he used to call his son Billy Moon. He says, "Yes, I am alive." After this, Christopher Robin's mum also comes, and she is also very happy to see her son. Tears come to her eyes, and when Nanny finds out that Christopher Robin is alive, she comes to meet him, and she hugs him and cries a lot. After this, Christopher tells his dad that when we were in the desert and we were being fired, then a man started singing. And when he was singing, he was missing his home. That song took him to his childhood. This magic happened because of you. But that song was mine. His dad says that I sold it. Christopher says, when people's hopes were broken after the First World War, then you reminded them, what is childhood? What is happiness? Those stories, this jungle was ours. Before someone else's, Alan says, and will always be. Now, all the complaints between these two, they are all gone. But even after Alan's disappearance, the fame of Winnie the Pooh continued to grow. Christopher Robin earned all the money from his stories. He did not take a single penny. He lived a happy married life and also opened a bookshop. And Nanny was always a part of Christopher's life. Even today, Christopher's toys are kept in the New York Public Library, which every year 750,000 people come to see. And recently, Winnie the Pooh has been considered the best book of children's faith. And with this true story ends here. Hope you liked this story.